just one sec. Oh, hi. We're just going to start the presentation. There we go. Start. Thanks, Erin. Oh, and we're live. Hello, Facebook group, and hi, YouTube. We got double technology because last time we had so much craziness that this should work. Plan A, Plan B. So welcome, guys, to class 2 of 8 Weeks to Gut Wellness. So we're talking about food guidelines today. Lots of recipes. I know that's what everybody gets excited about. That's the biggest deal. And so the food guidelines that we're talking about are, actually it's on the slide, there we go. So more talk about the prebiotics that really help the gut microbiome, which includes lentils, but they have to be properly prepared, so proper food prep. Do you guys remember a lot of the talk about prebiotics and which foods those specifically are? No? So we're going to go over those again. And has anybody been including more root vegetables in their foods? That's a prebiotic, right? Okay, so now you know why you're including fruit. So you remember the root vegetable thing, yeah, right? Yeah. So, and like sprouted lentils and root vegetables, especially like sweet potatoes and all those like more complex, lower glycemic load root vegetables. Those are found in a lot of those supercentenarian sort of ancient cultures, the ones that lived past 100 and they were healthy, they had no disease, and they lived mostly like probably very little fat, very little meat. They had a feast and famine. They get have the big celebration when they actually did get the hunt, right? But for most of the time they were foraging, and roots just are so satisfying and so satiating. And because especially they feed the probiotics, which help to dictate our cravings and the messages that are sent out, like the probiotics in our gut outnumber our human cells, remember? So that DNA, that message that it's sending out, they have more of an impact to our brain and saying, what they're craving and stuff like that. So if they're pathogenic, that's what happens when we start craving donuts and candy and all these kinds of things that aren't helpful to us and healthy, right? So yeah, so we're gonna go over today the proper food preparation of specifically beans and legumes, because in those ancient cultures, they didn't just go eat a bunch of dried legumes and boil them up. They would sprout them. And the sprouting process just eliminates a lot of the anti-nutrients. It helps with the mineral expression. And again, that mineral expression, like we talked about last class, it was all about pH and alkalization. Those minerals are what buffers the acid. And that's what disease is, right? It's basically acid and inflammation floating around your body. So also nuts and seeds, that's another thing. And so just soaking them in water alone is not enough, unfortunately. You need a little bit of salt. So there's recipes, we're going to talk all about them. And a little bit more about why and what that does. It does many things. It eliminates the anti-nutrients again, but it also preserves them, which is awesome. So your nuts don't go rancid, and those fats keeps healthy fats. And flour and grains, which brings me to this book. It's called Is Your Flour Wet? This was a free download from kitchenstewardship.com. Hi, come on in. Pass it along, thank you. And so I already posted this to the private group, so you guys can go ahead and download it and print it out if you want. It's totally free from kitchenstewardship.com, and they go over basically this workshop in a book. It's already there. Like the first chapter it's called Why Soak, and then they have a bunch of links for how-to tutorials, so videos you can watch about people sprouting and soaking and why, and so their take as well. Lots of recipes, and then this is just a bundle of so many recipes. There's about like 100 recipes in here, and they're all converted for you for all the baked goods that you want to cook. You want to make like cookies and buns and pizza crust and stuff like that. You can't just go and find a recipe and convert it yourself and soak it. It's not going to work out. So yeah, you've tried. It doesn't work exactly. So you're not going to be disappointed. One of the recipes in here is my favorite. It's the giant breakfast cookie, it's called. So a cookie that's soaked, because I've tried a lot of cookies to convert them, and even using the principles that I've read in this book. By the way, this is an amazing book. There's a whole chapter on grains and flour and why to soak and how to soak. She doesn't have a cookie recipe though. So finally found a cookie recipe. I've tried so many of the other ones converting them, and their cookies just are so finicky. So this one we're gonna taste after, and it's amazing. So that's in here. I don't have the recipe in your notes, but that's why this book is posted on that group, right? So download it and look at it there. So that's a really great reference. So here we go. So this is all, so we're gonna start with prebiotic foods is what I was saying. So starting off with that. And do you know why you're including more root vegetables in your food right now? Was kind of a recommendation I suggested. Okay, so they're prebiotic. Exactly. Everybody said no. You're just like everybody else. You're so normal. Exactly. Okay, so there's a lot of information we went over, like increasing your fruits and vegetables. That was a big thing, right? Like 3 to 5 cups of leafy greens if we can. You guys all remember that. And that was for the alkalizing. So actually like cleaning out the environment to make it, to weed your gut garden, right? So choking out the bad bacteria, the pathogens. And so the root vegetables, I think I briefly mentioned them because this is really the class for that, are all the prebiotics. So they have those oligosaccharides, those things that are found in like breast milk is the highest form of oligosaccharides, right? And root vegetables as well. Jerusalem artichoke is, actually no, sorry, chicory is the highest. Jerusalem artichoke comes next. It's so hard to find chicory root unless it's in a powder on the shelf. No, that's not chicory. Yeah, it's hard to find. It's not even in there. But so sunchokes, I thought I had it here, but no, it's on the shelf in the health store here. But those little funny looking roots, they're sunflower roots. They're called Jerusalem artichokes. They have
tried them this week.
Yeah, they're kind of fun. Hey, they're like
kind of potatoey.
Yeah, potatoey and a little bit more crunchy. I find.
Nice.
Yeah. I find them really like water chestnutty kind of.
Yeah.
Don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, really crunchy, crispy. Yeah. Yeah, turnipy. Yeah. So those are an excellent source of the oligosaccharides. Sweet potatoes, got purple potatoes there, onions and garlic. We talked a little bit about how they're kind of acidic, but at least they have those prebiotics in them as well. And so it's like 80-20. And like the whole thing about like, you know, if you look at ancient healing modalities like Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, they think that our Western culture eats way too much garlic and onions, right? Which is so disappointing. It's so delicious, but it's the 80-20 rule. We go a little overboard with a lot of things, but it's just very heating to the body. It can really increase our yang and inflammation, and we have enough of that with autoimmune conditions and stuff like that, right? So just, yeah, it's used for flavoring. It's not, obviously shouldn't be the main part of our meal, or like every meal is garlic rich, right? You know, something like that. So, and I also have the Juice Plus products up there. So the berries are another really important prebiotic. Very specific cultures will not even exist if berries aren't in your diet. So that the Juice Plus product is amazing for that. So the berries are a godsend, unless, you know, eating lots of berries, obviously, but there's, I think, 10 or 12 a variety of them. 10. I think it's 10. Yeah, so it's hard, you know, diversity is the key, and so that helps for sure. And then the Dandy Blend has the beetroot, so another root. I don't have beets in my picture. It's in the Dandy Blend. And there is also chicory in there, so there you go, it's easy to find there. And aloe vera is the last one. There's some available here in these beautiful bottles. Hold it up for the people at home. There you go. It's on the picture there, but yeah, so that has a lot of oligosaccharides, and it's really good for if anybody has like bowels that are really lazy or bunged up a bit. This is amazing. So I use that regularly because that might be me. So anyways, and then we have on the other side, the Bulletproof Coffee Blend. And so making your coffee alkaline by using Dandy Blend, you also get the prebiotics. So I also add Juice Plus Complete Powder. Packages here to show you, but you can see the picture up there because you have 14 different sprouted nutrients, right? So you get that alkaline variety. And then collagen, I like to point out too, has a lot of protein. It's one of the only alkaline source of animal protein, which is like bone broth. It's bone broth powder basically, right? So I really like that. So it just really fits. It's a gut microbiome coffee every morning, right? And grass-fed butter. More minerals to offer, so that's good. So there's an example of a meal that's all, you know, 80-20, and I'll explain. I know it's pizza, but it's raw cheese pizza, so you know, hopefully grass-fed. It's organic. I didn't really say grass-fed, but lots of broccoli. My kids love broccoli pizza. They're so awesome. Not weird. They're so awesome. I was going to say weird. I love that. Yeah, and then it's a gluten-free crust from Kinnikinnick. And then, of course, the root veggies, right? So you throw it in the oven, and it's really easy peasy. So getting into, so we're gonna do sprouting. So that's, you know, does everybody feel like we talked enough about root vegetables? You know why we're gonna eat them, right? So they're, and specifically, like I said about the berries too, they have, you know, certain cultures will not exist in your gut unless you're eating berries. Same goes with root vegetables. So the whole low carb diet, like there's a post I put up about, it's actually the owner of Whole Foods in the States. He's a billionaire. He wrote a book called Whole Foods, go figure. And it's all about, he has a ton of knowledge about traditional cultures and the Paleolithic times. And he was sort of, you should watch it, I posted on the private group, guys. And he sort of makes fun, no offense to the paleo people, it's just the information out there, right? It's missing the sprouted legumes, he specifically says, and the root vegetables. And, you know, the complex root vegetables, not just white potatoes, obviously, because without those, you're not going to feed your microbiome. You're not going to feed those specific bacterial culture. So really important. So the berries, the root vegetables, and the sprouted legumes are all, those are the three main prebiotics and foods that are found in ancient cultures that we're missing in our paleo diets, basically, right? But you have to sprout. So, and why? Why do we sprout? Because there's enzyme inhibitors, also called anti-nutrients. That's just a term. And what an enzyme inhibitor does, just as it sounds, it inhibits enzyme production in your body. And so it can really damage the pancreas, right? There's a lot of pancreatic issues, and everybody has digestive issues, right? Irritable bowel and all this stuff. And it's mostly because we're not properly preparing our foods. I mean, especially wheat. Wheat's the biggest one, right? All the bread, it's amazing. So we'll get into that a little bit. I mean, I'm just going to jump right in. The only bread I eat is from Sourdough Bakery, the Breadland Bakery, or Silver Hills has the sprouted bread. There's probably other brands, but they have to be fully sprouted or fully artisanal sourdough, or else it's like, it's garbage. But it's a new food. It's, you know, gluten has never been a part of our diet until the turn of the century, right? It was always sourdough or sprouted. And so if you properly do that, there's no gluten. So this whole gluten thing is, you know, that's the root of the issue. It's not, we should be eating potato starch, gluten-free pizza crusts instead. You know, we should be souring things properly or sprouting our grains and then processing them properly. So when you do that, yeah, you remove those enzyme inhibitors. So gluten would be one of them. Gluten is really damaging to the pancreas, to the whole gut lining. It just completely disrupts the whole environment. When you do the germination or sprouting, same thing, right? It neutralizes those inhibitors and it activates dormant enzymes, like especially in beans, right? That's why we take Beano when we eat beans, because our enzymes are so depleted. So if we just sprout our beans, then all these like more enzymes come alive, and it breaks down those phytic, those plant acid. Phytic just means plant, right? And all these anti-nutrients, like, hey guys, come on in. And like gluten is an anti-nutrient. So, and there's like a whole bunch of them. Thanks, Dawn. Oh, here we go. Here's your handouts. The recipes. It's recipe day, food day. Did you guys eat already? Okay, good. Can you wait until, you're okay to wait till 7:30? Okay, cool. Because we're gonna do that test. You guys read that? Awesome. So if you want water, there's water here. No kombuchas allowed. We're gonna do a real test this time. So, yeah, so enzyme inhibitors, like I said, they stop your enzyme production so they can harm your pancreas. And I mean, a lot of, you know, the whole, like there's a whole, I don't know, there's a whole dichotomy with like the raw food movement, and if we're really meant to eat meat, I don't know, I think the jury's still out a little bit. I crave meat, but you know, lower amounts of it for sure, and higher amounts of plant food is definitely showing up to be, for me, it makes sense. Science, it makes sense. The raw food sort of approach is that they don't cook any food because they don't want to lose the enzymes in their food. But we actually don't, even food that has been properly prepared, like sprouts and stuff like that, yeah, sure, it has a little bit of enzymes, but it's actually our pancreas. It's our body that is supposed to produce the digestive enzymes. Our saliva, just from chewing and releasing saliva, that is the main component to breaking down your carbohydrates and foods like that. So sort of a misnomer that you're actually, you know, if you're eating things raw, then you get all those enzymes going to help your digestion. Actually, it takes a lot of energy, right, to break down raw food. And so there's something to do about, you know, cooking it can, And that's like a lot of people that have had super, sensitive digestion, people on the GAPS diet where they have a ton of food allergies and they react immediately to lots of foods. They start doing way better on eating a lot of root vegetables, squash, and things that are totally cooked. So, if you look at it that way, they start healing that way. So, I mean, it's just, it depends on where you're at. And you kind of have to find where you're at for sure. And raw food people, they usually have to start, getting into it slowly so they can actually break it down, or else they feel like, things are just too fiery and too inflamed. So, yeah, so enzymes, it's all about your production of your actual digestive system. And so how are you supporting that? It's all about the microbiome, right? So that balance again. So all these factors that we're going to be talking about. So soaking as well helps to sort of start that process. Like before you sprout, you soak. That's why it's soak, sprout, and sour is the name of the this workshop I've been doing for years. It's kind of a mouthful and nobody knows what they're getting into, and then they like go to it. They're like, wow, that's like, life-changing. This information's not out there. It's amazing. So yeah, so soaking's the first part, and then you do the sprouting. So, and certain soaking techniques, especially with the nuts I was talking about, you need certain things like salt, which we're going to talk about the recipes in a bit. So that also allows the enzyme inhibitors to neutralize and will help the digestibility and the nutrient absorption, the mineral availability, the alkaline status of that food to come out. And it helps to start the whole fermentation process. Like that's what fermentation is. It's like you're suffocating it with salt and water, and then lactobacilli starts flourishing in that environment. So lactobacilli is, that's ferment. It's a lactic acid ferment culture, basically, bacterial culture.
Is that just in the soaking?
Yeah, so the soaking helps to start that process, yeah. So the water and the salt in that environment, because they like no oxygen. So that the water just like kind of suffocates them, and that's their ideal environment, apparently, to be suffocated, salted and stuff like that. So it also helps, the other helpful organisms. So again, with fermentation too, there's so many helpful organisms that come out. So, I mean, fermentation is like it transforms everything. It breaks things down. And so starches aren't as starchy. There's not as many starches basically, and then the sugar load won't be as hard on your blood sugar. Again, helping the other side of the pancreas, right? Your insulin production and everything. So good for diabetics to look at. And the last thing too is, I mean, there's many things, but these are the main points. Osteoporosis, the biggest connection with osteoporosis is these phytic acids, these enzyme inhibitors. Mostly found in grains, because that's the missing link. I mean, there's also nuts, but most people overeat grains. And so a lot of science is showing now that it's because these untreated phytic acid, these phytates, phytic acid is binding with minerals. Once we eat just whatever, some kind of grain that has been properly processed, it just goes into our gut and binds with minerals. There's actually a supplement that you can take if you have cancer. And usually with cancer, you have too much iron levels. And so that's very oxidative. And it's a phytic acid pill that you take. It's called IP6, inositol phytate, or I forget. Anyways, IP6, and it's phytic acid basically. And it's there to bind with the iron that's in your body, so it can lower your chances and lower the sort of extreme condition of cancer. But you take it 2 hours before or after food, or else it binds with all the minerals in your food too, right? So that's one thing. When I used to work with a cancer nutritionist, he's like, but phytic acid's healthy. We do it, we help people fight cancer. I'm like, yeah, but you don't get it with your food because you want the minerals from your food. But people have too much, too much iron, too many acidic minerals, and heavy metals, then that's the perfect thing to take away from your food, right? So yeah, and there's a picture there. So there's another pizza that I've made. I had another pizza picture earlier, guys. You guys missed it. And I put sprouts on it. My kids love it. So you can put sprouts on everything. So we're going to get right into sprouting first of all. So germination is the first part to the prop. There we go. There's an extreme close up. Put sprouts on everything. So how do you sprout? You guys all sprouted before? Yes, no? 50-50? Oh yeah, she sprouted. So you can sprout everything, just about. Everything listed here. So sprouting seeds, I mean, alfalfa I listed, but there's broccoli seed sprouts, just by the way. try not to go into too many side stories, but I love side stories. Broccoli seeds have the highest amount of something called brocogen, which is basically it helps your estrogens to not express in the unhealthy hormonal cancer expression. So it will help even when for men that do a lot of steroids and they're working out and their testosterone turns to estrogen and they get like the man boobs, roid boobs they call them. This will help to not allow that conversion to go into the sort of basically cancerous, too estrogenic sort of thing. And so it's like an estrogen cleanse. So women that have hormonal imbalances and they have any kind of hormonal imbalances usually stemmed with an estrogenic dominance going on. I mean, there's variabilities, but that's just the most common thing, especially in our Western world. There's like plastic contributes to that. Plastic is actually an estrogenic compound. They call them xenoestrogens, right? The exhaust from our vehicles is an estrogenic compound that's toxic. And so this is one of the most powerful medicines to help to block those estrogens and neutralize them and get them out of the body. So my story is there's this chocolate bar that they sell here. I think it's at a stock. I always want chocolate bars. Last time it was a chocolate bar. This is a new chocolate bar. So it's the broccoli seed extract chocolate bar. And I ate like half a chocolate bar. It's kind of a big chocolate bar too. So it's a high dose of broccoli seeds. My breasts got really big. Hi, YouTube. Yes. So, yeah. No, but I actually don't want it. But anyways, okay, so the story goes though, so what's happening is my estrogens are changing, right? So I'm getting kind of, I don't know, probably younger, well, the anti-aging, my hormones are getting younger and more reproductive maiden, maybe, or whatever. But there's a detox happening. So estrogen's changing and shifting, right? So my breasts showed that, and it was like immediate. I had half a chocolate bar, and the next day, like they firmed up, they got bigger. So I feel weird about my breasts now all of a sudden. But that's pretty cool. Like that's pretty like immediate. Another person I know, which shall be unnamed, also got another. Also started getting the capsules. So the capsules are about half a chocolate bar, one capsule. And again, her breasts started changing. And I've done this estrogen cleanse before where you take the capsules. And in the first month, yes, your breasts get really big, stubborn fat deposits that are all kind of like unhealthy expressions of estrogen start going away, and everything goes to your breasts at first. Yeah. And then after 2 months though, they went back to a normal size. No, because I was toxin free. I know, well, my saddlebags, yeah, and we're just talking all sorts of stuff on YouTube. It's a private channel. But yes, because I had a saddlebag issue back then. And I was just like, it was within the first month, it was amazing. So that's total sidestep. But yeah, broccoli, so sprouting your broccoli seeds, it's really easy. And that's something you can do. I'll show you how in a sec here. So yeah, I totally recommend it. And those chocolate bars, when they come in, they're kind of pricey, but half a chocolate bar a day. Hi. I knew you were going to show up. I said that last time. There you go. So you missed the breast talk, Harry.
I missed what? The missed part?
Oh, the breast talk.
What did I miss, guys?
Talked about how big my breasts got. All about broccoli sprouts. Do you know about broccoli sprouts? You do. You're all
Sulforaphane?
Sulforaphane and brocogen, right? And that whole estrogen metabolism fixer-upper.
Indole-3-carbinol.
Yeah, exactly. And he knows. So we're gonna so how to sprout them, and if you want to get that broccoli sprout medicine, that's the best way to get that sulforaphane, brocogen, whatever you want to call it. Indole-3-carbinol, diindole methane, those are all the chemical terms to what's found in cruciferous vegetables in general, but broccoli sprouts have the highest amount. So long story short, made my breast big. There you go, that's what we're talking about. It was awesome. So yeah, so we're gonna do, actually I was gonna sprout some lentils. I mean, you can sprout anything. So you can do broccoli sprouts, you can do alfalfa seeds, you could do sunflowers, really easy to sprout. Pumpkins are really easy to sprout. As you can see, I have everything soaking, so that's what you do. That's the first step, right? So one thing, I made a mistake, so I wanted to tell you. So it's perfect. So I have a troubleshooting to tell you guys. I had too many chickpeas sprouting in this little container, and they got all clumped together. And I mean, this is in your recipe, and it says make sure they don't clump. I think I even used the word clump, yeah, in quotations, for mold to grow. So what happened is they didn't get moldy, but they got really sour and sludgy and stinky. So try not to put too much in there. So I mean, I usually say 4 tablespoons, but chickpeas, they expand to like just about over twice their size. So I'd probably do like maybe 2 to 3. So I just do a bigger container for chickpeas, basically. This is not chickpea friendly, but it's pretty good for lentils. So I'm gonna eyeball it. So we're gonna pretend, I don't know if you can see me here. You know, about 4 tablespoons of lentils would be good in here. And then again with the little guys, yeah, 4 tablespoons is usually what I do in this big container. So that's like I think it's a 2 liter. There's one left for sale. It's $12.36 minus 25% off. If you want it, come grab it because there's only one left. So yeah, it's 2 liters. Otherwise, you can get these lids. This is a sprouting lid. It has a, you know, like the how you pour it off, the sort of sieve. Or you could just get cheesecloth. There's cheesecloth there. Should I be showing people at home this? So yeah, cheesecloth works. Those nut bags work. Anything that strains, pretty straightforward. So yes, you do that, and then you add water. So you soak. So this is some of your recipes. So yeah, soak your seeds or legumes in water for 12 to 24 hours. Try not to go over, because again, they get sour, and especially in the heat. No, so no salt with beans. I've done this experiment too. Salt with nuts only.
No salt with beans.
No salt, so just water. Yeah, because I've even done, there's certain souring techniques with flour. Sour flour, that's how you remember it. It rhymes, right? That's how this is all my own processes over like for 7 years, like trying different things. But the flour thing, like it's pretty straightforward in here about souring your flour. So lemon, and we're gonna go over that in a bit. But with beans, she didn't say anything. And I think some recipes I've seen salt, and some recipes I've seen lemon. So I've tried all of them. And just water works the best and the fastest. And especially, I think if you would sour them, like my experience with chickpeas, they got so sludgy and sour smelling, and really gross. And I made a hummus for you guys that I'm not gonna feed you, so you're welcome. But it tastes like Parmesan. I'm like, I didn't put Parmesan in there. So yeah, we're not gonna eat that, don't worry. So don't make that mistake like I did. So just use water, yeah. And so I mean, probably a little bit more than that, but I'm just going to say that's what 12 to 24 hours. It just sits there, and I just put it on the counter, not direct sunlight. Some people cover it with a cloth. And then you just go and I'm going to drain it off in the sink. We're going to pretend it was 12 to 24 hours. There's nobody on camera for a sec. Come back. And then, this is fun. So I'll show you that in a sec too. Stuff over. So, and then it's kind of wet. And you want it to go upside down so all the water drains into a bowl. So you have a perfect, usually this bowl usually works pretty good. Yeah, kneeling against maybe a wall or something, right? So you kind of turn it around so nothing's clumping and it's nice and sticky because it's wet. And then you get more air for the sprouts to happen, right? And you should rinse, as it says there, twice a day. I'm reading notes upside down. Why don't I read some real notes here? So I actually said that lots of air for them to breathe. Don't allow them to clump, for mold or stinky sour to grow. And I say minimum twice per day. I've done it once per day, but then I've made mistakes. So maybe do twice per day just in case, guys, right? So for 3 to 4 days, depending on how long. And it's really nice if you can get your sprouts super long, then you're gonna get more minerals. The longer, the better, right? So I say like 2 centimeters is a good one to go with, but I'm just gonna, so yeah, so you let it sit like this, right? So that's the thing is why you do that is because it's draining out the water. So every time you rinse, you wanna pour out that, you know, it could get gunky. You don't want mildew or mold to grow. So keep it clean, cover it up. Somebody had it in the sun because they heard that you have, you know, when you think you're sprouting, you're growing a garden, you have to put sun on it. It does not need sun. It's in its like incubation, baby in the womb stage, right? So it needs darkness right now. And then when the sprout does fully develop, that's when you green it. We can talk about it in 1 sec. I want to show you the stages of development. So I have this little, it's like, that's probably a little bit too much in there. See that? It's probably, it's getting a bit crowded. But when I have it nice and wet, it does kind of stick, and it's not doing too bad. And the other thing is too, these are broccoli seeds that are not sprouting. You know how old these are? I found them in the back of my pantry. They're probably about 5 years old, and they're just not doing it. And that's one thing I found too. I've done so much sprouting over the years, and I, you know, got non-organic beans and sprouting seeds, and sometimes they sprout, and sometimes they don't. So it's kind of a good thing to do a sprouting test to see how alive those beans are, to see if they, you know, lost their lifespan. They're just too old and like completely dead. So some of these came alive, but some of them didn't. So I'll probably pick through those later. You can buy broccoli sprouts at the store. You can't eat these because we're doing the test later. But,
So would that be from the broccoli seeds?
yes, so broccoli seeds sprouted. So there's your boob job. Donna's like, yeah. And this is the other thing. So yeah, so we soaked them already. So we're past that slide. We have, see, some of them I have really crowded. So those ones, if you do that, like mung beans, I find are really easy to sprout. You see this one? This is broccoli seeds again. So they stuck really nicely to the edge. The little guys, they get really nice and sticky, so they're easy to deal with. They don't get like, look at that. These guys are really nice too. They're not even coming down. Yes, exactly. Look at how much stuff I'm sprouting there. I was just going to kind of show you. I want to pass this around too, because what I did, this is the last process. So as it says there, doing it justice with the screen. So you have it grow as long as you want. I mean, these are lentils. Some of them are 2 centimeters, but not all of them, but all of them are looking really good. And then when they're ready and they're at that point where you think, okay, it's about 2 centimeters, they're looking really good, then you put them in the sun to green them. So that's basically, this is the final stage to turning them into a vegetable. So they're no longer this acidic legume, they're actually a vegetable, right? They are green. So I'm gonna pass it around so you can see there's a little green leaf. It's ready to go plant in the garden. And it is now a green alkaline vegetable. And that's the colander I use because I can do super gigantic batches. Thanks, Erin.
I even did that just for my actual sprouting.
Like little seeds instead of beans, you mean? Or
Beans. I sprouted them in the colander.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I just soaked them first and then the colander, and it's so much easier to rinse.
That's what I do too.
Rinse one
Yeah.
time, and then you spread it out
Exactly.
around the edge of the colander. And
Yeah.
I do that with my mung beans, chickpeas, anything that's larger.
a bigger one.
Yeah, the larger ones, and you want bigger batches. Yeah. And so from the get-go, I just soak them in like a big bowl, like before. Yeah, so that's what I do too. It's just 2 options, exactly. So big bowl, and then I go straight to the colander. So every time I rinse, yeah, exactly. You just rinse on the colander, and spread it out, and it's already draining for you. And you just find a plate to put it on. I usually do a towel or a dark corner in my cupboard or something. And then that way you can do really big batches. And then you get your super awesome prebiotic legume with alkaline minerals to spare, no phytates, no enzyme inhibitors. And that's like the super centenarian food. You missed that talk, but if you go on Facebook, Carrie, there is this beautiful article. It's an article on Whole Foods, the owner of Whole Foods. He wrote a book called Whole Foods. And he talked about how lentils and root vegetables were more a part of like the ancestral diets that lived a long time than any meat or fat was. So the paleo movement needs to pick up lentils, sprout them, and more root vegetables. So the bulletproof diet is really in line with that. He recommends, sweet potatoes and beets and not as many potatoes, but if you eat potatoes, just add just slow it down with coconut oil. He loves coconut oil.
Dave Asprey actually did an interview into his podcast.
The Whole Foods guy?
Yeah.
That's the one I'm talking about,
if you
yeah.
prefer, as opposed to reading it.
Oh, I see on this blog too.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
How long would you put them in the sun?
So with a few hours until they turn green. So let's say you kind of have to watch them, right? If it's too hot, especially, they're going to start shriveling up, and then that's going to lose minerals, sort of thing. Although keep them kind of wet, and just as soon as that little green happens, it happens like minimum probably an hour.
Yeah.
So 3 hours I'd say would be. Pardon?
That's for everything you sprout?
Everything just to green it, just to get that little green.
I've never done that step.
Okay, so that's important. That adds so much more minerals, and it turns it into a really alkaline plant. So you see that, yeah, you guys saw that little green part, right? Yeah, so just as soon as it turns green, which, yeah, like seriously, in an hour I've seen that happen in direct sunlight. If it's like overcast, maybe a few hours, even overcast in a window. Like I have a tower garden, so I have an indoor hydroponic unit, so I have lights. So I always have bright sunshine in my living or my kitchen.
Those alfalfa sprouts, we did we greened them in about 20 minutes.
20 minutes, there you go. Yeah, it doesn't take long. Yeah. Especially alfalfa sprouts. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
So you guys might hear this or read this, that alfalfa sprouts especially have, starts with a P. P-Y-Z-Z something, something, something. It's a long word. You're going to look it up. Thanks. And it's toxic to the liver. So people, a lot of information out there says be careful of alfalfa herbs and alfalfa sprouts. Herbs don't have it. It's just from the get-go. It's just like if you are sensitive to it, if you have, I believe it's lupus is really sensitive to it. It's an autoimmune condition. You probably avoid it. But if you green your alfalfa sprouts, it completely eliminates that. So that greening process does more about the anti-nutrients than we know. So alfalfa proves it right there, sort of thing. So greening your alfalfa sprouts won't allow it. If you're buying alfalfa sprouts in the store, make sure they have that green going on, so you know that the chlorophyll basically went in there and eliminated, did some kind of anti-nutrient repair sort of thing. Yeah, it's just that's the full process of sprouting. So yay, Randy, she learned something. That's so good. Yeah, what's the word?
So it's alpha pyrrolindinopentanopheno-1.
See, how can I not remember that?
Anybody wants to see what it looks like?
So maybe there's not two Z's in it. That was wrong. It was a big hard P.
Alpha P, or it is also known as APVP.
PVP, okay, APVP.
Yeah, alpha PVP. So just want to know the street lingo?
There you go.
For your alfalfa sprout?
PVP, yeah.
No alpha PVP.
Sprout gangsta lingo. So there's some beautiful chickpeas that I actually can sprout chickpeas normally. So my last batch was just a fail, but my lentils were nice, so we're all good now. Yeah, and what I do after that, so this is where people are like, why do you do this? We talked about raw food. So if you feel like you have all this digestive fire and high stomach acid, which actually none of you guys have, to remember our testing, everybody was too alkaline. That's the research I did. I'm going to post the article. And I'll quickly say, because if people at home are doing their pH test and they test really alkaline, you have low stomach acid. So your digestive fires are really low. So you want to build it up again with, like I talked about, beets. So beet kvass, right? So say it like a Russian. Or just betaine hydrochloric acid, which is found on the shelf. Things like kombucha, apple cider vinegar, lemon water every morning, get that acid in the stomach where it needs to be, right? And then the alkaline ash will follow. So those three, the last ones, kombucha, apple cider vinegar, and lemon water will help to build that up. So you all would have a really hard time with the raw food diet, right? Because it needs a lot of acids, a lot of upper digestive enzyme and functioning, or else you're going to feel like you have a brick in your stomach trying to eat like a lot of sprouts. So this is why it's like a vegetable. So we steam our broccoli, right? We don't blink twice about it. So I recommend to actually cook these after you've already sprouted them, did all that work. Just because we're breaking it down and it's easier to digest. Yes, we're losing some of the enzymes. We're losing maybe 10% of the minerals, maybe a little more. But it's gone way beyond what we had in the first place before we started sprouting, right? So it's a totally different food. It is a vegetable now, and we're going to get more even if we cook it down. So it says, yeah, soak, sprout, and sour your beans here. Lentils are cheap, just like that. So this is like the, if you want to live past 100 and thrive and have like the best digestion, eat lentils. And more money in the bank. Like that's what I do when I go traveling. I'm on my beach body diet or whatever, because I'm saving money to go traveling. And I'm just eating lentils and rice and, easy peasy. So, sprouted lentils, of course. Yeah. So we sprouted them, all good. Adzuki beans, mung beans, chickpeas and lentils. They came up on the alkaline list, if you guys remember, last week. I'll remind you. There you go. And then you cook them if you prefer, but yes, I'd recommend that unless you're a raw foodist or you have awesome digestive force on the upper digestive level. And so the chickpeas and adzuki beans and even like black beans, the bigger ones, they take about 1 to 2 hours at like a rolling, I usually boil it. Sometimes it skims, sometimes it doesn't, especially when you're sprouting it. You're already, those anti-nutrients that usually come up in that scum, it's pretty much gone. It's been germinated and neutralized out of there. So I don't find it usually, the scum comes up as much. But I would scoop it off anyways, and then bring it to like a low simmer, like about a 4 or 5, depending on your stove, for at least an hour for mung beans and lentils, and about, it says right here, 1 to 2 hours for adzuki and chickpeas. So depending on how much you sprout them, like those last chickpeas with those big tails, an hour, they're soft. They should be squishy, right? Like a steamed vegetable sort of thing, right? And then what I do is I freeze them in a glass mason jar. So that's what that is. I pull it out of the freezer, and it's kind of like I have canned beans. So I make giant batches in my colander. Then I cook it in a big stock pot, and I strain off that water, just because the anti-nutrients are probably sitting in there. But some people use that water because there probably wouldn't be as much anti-nutrient, and because we sprouted it, right? And then you can fill it, like without the water, you can fill those beans right up to the top because the water expands and breaks glass mason jars, right? So I've filled my beans countless times to the top in my glass mason jars, nothing breaks. I've had bone broth break in my freezer, but not my beans. So I'm gonna do the puck thing that we're talking about. That's next. So, and then you can thaw your beans and make hummus or chili or whatever you want to do, right? So that brings me to hummus. So I add a lot of vegetables in my hummus. That's why that picture, this is like years ago, this picture. I've been doing this workshop for a while. And we're gonna make, well, I'm not gonna make it here. So that's already done. So making hummus, it's really easy. This was my goal before because I'm a Gemini and I don't usually follow recipes. I'm like, I know, so I drive people nuts, right? So I'm like, okay, if I write a recipe book, I have to have my recipes down. I can't just say, oh, eyeball this and eyeball that. So I find this recipe for hummus is amazing. So it's bang on. It's taken me time to, master and just make sure. I feel the ratios are good with the lemon and everything. I sometimes add a little lemon zest, lemon rind, which isn't on there. I didn't add lemon rind to this, but we're going to taste this after, so you'll remember if you really love this recipe. This is the recipe. I used actual real cloves. I did 2 garlic cloves for this, so that it has like a bit of a garlic burn. It tastes spicy. You're like, yeah, we love garlic. We're Westerners. And lots of fresh parsley. You can actually see the green in there. And these are from the lentils because, like I said, my chickpeas did not work out.
So because the tahini, the sesame is high in phytates,
Yes.
we already buy tahini, can we just ferment it with some,
if you ferment the whole entire hummus after, but yeah, you could ferment the tahini.
because sometimes you just want to eat the hummus maybe.
Yeah. So I would totally do that.
So you can ferment your
Tahini. And so that's going to bring us to cashew cheese, which is the kind of like the way that nuts ferment. They get really puffy and a bit strange. They're fast. So you'll find your tahini probably like 6 to 8 hours, 10 hours, probably maximum. It'll start getting puffy, which, yeah, we'll go into that. Yeah, or pickle juice, or even just lemon and salt, right? Yeah. Lemon and salt would work. I think a sour medium. That'd be slower though. So like kefir would be a faster ferment. Really break it down. Because like for sesame, I would, because the phytic acid is so high in that. There's a lot of sesame seed allergies. It's probably the phytates. Yeah, so I replace things with replace my hummus, my tahini with cashews. This one I didn't though. So Michelle, you can eat this. Yeah. But sometimes I do. I do a 1/4 cup cashews. Did I write that in there? No. Okay. This is sorry, I have different notes. But so sometimes do a 1/4 cup cashews and a 1/4 cup of water is what I would do. Replace the 1/4 cup of actual tahini with. And I mean, you don't have to put extra water. Especially if you soak the cashews and they're super soft. Yeah, so a big handful of parsley, as much as you can handle. Sorry, it's not exact, but it's a big handful. I have big hands, so there's lots in here. Yeah, so there you go. And then if you want to ferment it after, as it says there, add 1 to 2 tablespoons. So I added 2 tablespoons of my pickling juice. So I have my homemade pickled carrots. And so anything like sauerkraut juice, I've even just like thrown sauerkraut pieces in there, or water kefir if you have that. And sometimes I've just thrown the little scobies, little grains in with the hummus when I'm blending it. And then you can let that sit. So right here, 1 to 4 kefir grains, there you go. And you sour it, let it sit overnight. But if it's warm, it can turn into this puffy marshmallow. That's what fermentation does. It just like, breaking it all down and it just starts expanding. So it might get strange. So if it's warm, especially right now, it's summertime, 6 hours, I would watch it. 12 hours, you might be pushing it. Yeah, weird puppy dip. There it is right there, yeah. So yeah, blend them all in a Vitamix or a food processor, obviously. I have this little advice. So if little ones are sleeping, so I have this, just smash it up with your masher. It's not perfectly creamy, but at least you get like the fermentation in there. Let it sit overnight. You know, hopefully it's not in too warm of a place. And then in the morning you can blend it up. It'll be softer. So fermentation, yeah. So you can be loud in the morning. Blend loudly, as loud as you want. Yeah, my grammar needs some work. Anyways, yeah. So that's the hummus. So pretty straightforward. We've all made hummus, but we're upgrading it by sprouting and cooking our beans, right? So cultured cashew cheese, amazing. And you can't even doesn't even do justice. That picture is terrible. So I have a special edition that I wanted to introduce. I just, this is a beta course, right? So I'm kind of coming up with new recipes and adding prebiotics to it. So I added beets and sweet potatoes and a little bit of garlic. Garlic's, the prebiotic too, but just, 80-20, not too much garlic. So I want to keep the house up. And there's dill in there. And dill's actually quite cooling to the digestive system. So dill and garlic go really well together. Oh my gosh. I already tried it. The whole family loves it. We had it for lunch. It's really good. Yeah. So we'll have that after we do our pH test. But well, I'll let you know. Yeah. So basically, this is the base of cultured cashew cheese, and there's so many ways to flavor it after. But so you want to soak your cashews just the way we talked about. So with nuts, you do the sea salt soak. So it says right there, right? So 1 cup of soaked and strained cashews. The cashews have soaked for 6 hours. That's the thing with cashews. No more than 6 hours, or else they get so soft and strange. They actually get little brown dots. So I think like the salt is like so going in there so aggressively that it's like breaking it down and creating these holes in the cashews, and they just get all oxidized and strange. So you want to, 6 hour limit with cashews. Everything else is pretty much 12 to 24 hours with all the other nuts. Seeds, this is all in Nourishing Traditions, by the way. Seeds are about 12 hours. Big almonds, I would probably do about 24. You can do 24. But again, don't go over that. Like even sometimes 24 in a really warm environment, it could start getting musty and sour.
Right now.
Yep.
And the skins will come off.
Yeah.
The water's been brown. It's only been since
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this weather, it can really speed up. Did you use a little, like how much salt did you use? Quite a bit. Make a salty taste, like a handful, a couple tablespoons or so. Yeah, so that's nice to get a salty taste. And the more salt you're going to use, the more corrosive the salt goes in and whips out those anti-nutrients, breaks them down, takes the skins off for you, which is kind of nice. So I've made almond cheese, same recipe. And a lot of the blogs that you go on, like if you just type in something and go, nourishing, and it'll include all the fermentation, all the soaking steps, and it's based on Nourishing Traditions, right? That's what I used to do a lot when I look up recipes and stuff. And yeah, so almond cheese is a really common one, and they recommend to take the skins off. I've done it with the skins though, and it's fine, just the little dots. And if you have a Vitamix blender, then it just breaks it down. We have like little pieces, tiny pieces of almond skin, no big deal. So yeah, so cashews are the only exception basically, because they're so soft already. They're actually one of the lowest in phytic acids. So like sesame is the highest, cashews, chia seed, flaxseed are the lowest. So chia seeds and flax seeds, you don't need to soak. And there's so much documented history, especially with chia seeds. Hemp seeds are really low as well. Yeah, so there's a lot of traditional documentation with chia seeds being eaten as their sole nutrition, just raw. So, and ancient people had no disease, so they knew best, right? That's what science is kind of based. Yes, there would be. Do I know off the top of my head? No. I'm assuming, right? Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. And especially the skins have a lot of anti-nutrients because they're the protective barrier. So that's what anti-nutrients are, by the way. That should be part of my intro. Why are they even there in the first place? It's because they are protecting. They're protecting themselves from germination. So they, as soon as they turn into a sprout, they turn into a plant. They've died, and the sprout, and that vegetable sort of thing, that new vegetable is the new life. So they're protecting their life cycles, and also animals won't eat them until they've become sprouted and properly processed. So I mean, nature knows that they're not supposed to be eaten yet. Yeah. So it's kind of like that protective mechanism. Animals go up, and you know they can smell them. They're chemical to them, and so they will not digest them. It'll destroy their intestines. But us humans we just barge right through and don't do all the proper steps. So yeah, so cashew, yeah, you can do all sorts of nuts. That's what actually brought me to the other recipe. Oh, I skipped a page, guys. Sorry. Yeah. So we'll go back to crispy nuts because, yeah, I kind of stuck that in there because I was going to talk about nuts that way too. So yeah, I'm on third page, by the way. Sorry, guys. So yeah, so cultured cashew cheese. And then, yeah, there's that Caesar dressing on this page I skipped. So that's how I found out about that. I just had a lot of hemp seeds, and I'm like, I'll make a cashew cheese, and I'll just dilute it a little bit to make a dressing, because that's what you can do with this cashew cheese, right? Just dilute it with water, make a dressing. If you dilute it too far, put chia seeds in it to thicken it back up, right? That was great. When I figured that out, I'm like, this is amazing. So it's like fail-safe, right? Yeah, so as a recipe goes, so it's easy peasy, and then you add the ferment starter right in there because it's the liquid that helps it blend. So this ratio of liquid to soaked nuts gives you that nice thick consistency, right? And so from there, if you want it less, you know, I just do that, and then I have it, you know, I scoop it out, put it into a shaker cup with some extra water, and drizzle it like a dressing. And yeah, so you can blend it together, and yeah, when you let it sit, again, the counter again in the summertime when it's warm, 6 hours, and it starts getting really puffy, which I have a picture. This is really cool. So yeah, this is just talking again about the enzyme inhibitors, soaking your nuts in salt. See that picture down there, which I have a bigger version here. So we have the cashew cheese all blended up, and after 6 hours, this was a really fast one. I had to take a picture. This is what made me take a picture. You can see how it puffed right up, right? And all the bubbles, you kind of see all the bubbles in there. And then I got my little stick and I just puffed it back down and went right back to normal. So then when it starts puffing up and gets bubbles, you know that fermentation has, you know, set in, it's breaking it all down, it's making it have that cheesy taste, and breaking more, you know, getting more nutrients available. Fermentation in itself, it's like a transformation that helps to, like they say with sauerkraut, for example, there's 60 milligrams of vitamin C per cup of cabbage, and as soon as you ferment it, it's like 600 milligrams of vitamin C. So fermentation like actually accentuates nutrients, minerals, antioxidants are, you know, all of a sudden like they've done lab tests, like the antioxidants that weren't there in the first place are then there after they fermented. So more nutrients actually come about. You guys laughing? What's so funny? Share the joke. The back of the class. No? We'll talk later. You'll get a white slip. Okay. So yeah, so anyway, so it gets puffy, and then put it in the fridge. So as soon as you put it in the fridge, it slows it right down, although it will slowly ferment in the fridge. So eat it. You're not gonna have a hard time eating this. It'll be gone right away. But if you let it sit too long, it might get really weird tasting. Basically, because fermentation only lasts a certain amount of time, right? With vegetables, it's slower. With this kind of stuff, it's a fast ferment, and it might start tasting like beer or wine. So actually alcohol is literally setting in. So that's a party dip, right? And if you keep it out, forget it. You're gonna have a serious alcohol. Even in the fridge. Yeah, I find that nuts, they ferment so fast compared to vegetables. Vegetables have those fibers. They have a lot for the fermentation to go in and eat and work with, where this is it's already blended down for them. And so the fermentation process is faster. And even in the fridge, I found, especially my salad dressings, especially that hemp salad dressing, Caesar salad, because hemp has a funky taste. And then as soon as you ferment it, like this tastes like Caesar, like it tastes like that Parmesan taste or whatever, right? So I found that it can separate, which is totally normal. Just mix it back together. It's always about taste. So if you start tasting alcohol, then you know that it's not as nourishing anymore, right? The probiotics are probably depleted, the enzymes are depleted, all the antioxidants and vitamins and stuff like that will be more depleted. And I mean, it's not going to hurt you, but it's not that healthy, nourishing food that you did all that work for, sort of thing, right? It turns into alcohol, which isn't as nourishing, right, as we know. So the other thing too, I like to add, if you want, because nutritional yeast flakes add such a delicious sort of vegan cheese taste, so it can really bump up your cashew cheese and make it taste cheesy. But do not ferment nutritional yeast. So add the nutritional yeast after you fermented it. You're storing it in the fridge. You're just changing the flavor. It just gets too yeasty. So it really has, like, it tastes like beer. I found when I fermented my. I tried it one time, and I fermented the cashew cheese with the nutritional yeast. So you add it after; it's right on the web or the recipe there. And other additional flavorings that are amazing. So cumin seed, kind of like a hummus cashew cheese. Smoked paprika. Paprika is kind of boring, but smoked paprika is really nice, I should say. Garlic and dill. So the additive I added, so same recipe on the top, a quarter cup of beets and sweet potatoes. I did like a 50-50. So what I did with the beets and the sweet potatoes is I cut them up into little squares and steam them on my steamer. So, you know, like, those little steamers that kind of like, I should have brought one, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's little baskets. So just do that. And it's so fast. That's the fastest way to cook beets too. I've seen people try to boil them. They take hours. Steam them. Yeah, steam them. Pardon? Way faster steam, even than baking. I find like it's just so fast. Yeah. So just get that little basket and then pressurized lid thing on hot water. Get little pieces. That's the one I use, the one on the stove with the basket inside. So there's probably an electric one, probably the same. Yeah, just like that high heat steam and the cover. A mini, more of a natural pressure cooker. Nourishing Traditions, they don't really like pressure cookers. It's kind of an unnatural modern day gadget, they call it. And I mean, it can really break apart your food a little bit too fast. So it makes sense that it's probably going to denature your food more than you want to. So yeah, so I steamed the beets and sweet potatoes, and I added a quarter cup of those, and 1 clove of garlic for the cashew cheese, and 1 tablespoon of dry dill weed. It was organic, so it was a good quality, and you're going to taste that. And then you have a prebiotic. Yes. Oh, yes, that's right. Thank you. I don't have your notes. I have my messy notes here. I forgot to add the sweet potato. That's what it was. So it's in your notes. There you go. Perfect. And I didn't even add any more liquid. I just used my stomper on the Vitamix and got it going. But a food processor would work really well, right? And so now crispy nuts. We can go back to page 2. Half cup total. So quarter cup of sweet potatoes and quarter cup of beets. Is it written in there?
Half a cup is written.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, half and half beets and sweet potato, and you'll taste it. It's pretty amazing. And then you get a variety of prebiotic food.
More vegetables, more diversity.
Yeah, more diversity. It's all about diversity. So I don't have my crispy nut slide, so I'm just gonna put the nuts up there. Yeah, and dill and garlic, and they go so well together because dill is like a digestive soother we're talking about, right? And garlic can be too heating, and dill is very cooling, so they're a really good match. Okay, so crispy nuts. This is a nice way to it's like a chip replacement. It's like salty and crispy at the same time, but never overeat nuts because there's so many fats in here. It's such dense nutrition, and you can feel it later, right? Shouldn't overeat anything, but sometimes these are like chips are hard. The whole bag's gone all of a sudden. So, and then nuts kind of the same. So just watch that. It'll be even harder. It's really hard on the liver, gallbladder, all those fats, and the liver has to respond to that. So you don't want to do that. Yeah, so basically when you're soaking them, right, you have your bowls. Like this is, I just do big batches, so I just get it over with sort of thing. And the process of soaking your nuts in water and the sea salt does a bit of like, it's a preservation, it's salting it, right? And so when you're done soaking, you strain off the water and then you roast them at even like a bit of a higher temperature, up to 250 is usually what the maximum that's recommended. This is all from Nourishing Traditions too, by the way. That way, what the salt does is it preserves and protects the fats. So what you're doing is, raw nuts, you should be storing them in the freezer or the fridge, or else they could go rancid. And you can tell they're rancid, usually chew them, and like walnuts is pretty obvious. You get a kind of a burning tongue, and it's like, yeah, so rancidity, especially walnuts are a special one, we'll talk about in 1 second, but the fat, so stored in a closed jar like this in your pantry after you've roasted them and they're crispy for up to 6 months, and the fats stay totally intact and they won't be rancid, and it just tastes much better. The only thing is that you have to, like, the time depends on how much you're roasting, and so it'll obviously be a longer time in the oven. So I just taste test to make sure they're crispy and make sure there's no water in the middle. I've done almonds though before, and I thought they were pretty crispy, but they went totally moldy in my jar. So what a waste, right? And so almonds, watch, they're just so dense, and so make sure they're just like they have the really crispness, no moisture left, or else they will go moldy. You know how much salt you use, but the salt, helps the fats and stuff like that, right? So we have here, almonds, walnuts, all the raw seeds. Hopefully you're shopping where you get them out of the fridge. I've shopped a lot at Costco though and got non-organic nuts just from the shelf in the big bag, even walnuts. And as soon as I get home though, I stick them in the freezer until I'm ready to process them. And I've not actually had any rancid walnuts from Costco, so that's pretty, so yay Costco. Yeah, I've done lots of those too. Yeah, I usually buy them from Pure now. They keep them in the fridge. They're smart. And so with walnuts though too, that's the other thing. So walnuts are the only one you cannot store in the cupboard. So once you've done the soaking, you did the salting, you strained all that off, and then you roasted them. They can handle a pretty high temperature, but it's just the length of period of storing. So they actually recommend to store your walnuts in the fridge. I do this all the time before I process or eat my nuts. And I had walnuts sitting in like an open bowl on my counter for probably about 2 weeks, and they're still good. So they do have they'd probably be okay, but they wouldn't be 6 months okay, sort of thing. Like maybe after a few months they go rancid, but it's just kind of a warning because walnuts have a higher amount of omega-6, which is like a longer chain fatty acid. And so they're just more subject to damage, like more exposure in the longer chains versus the shorter chains, right? So there you go.
Section, I've never bought walnuts that you take that.
Okay, yeah. Nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I must have got lucky at Costco. I think they have a high turnover. I go to the 91st Street Costco. That's the busiest Costco in Canada. Do you guys know that? Is that crazy? That's why it's so crazy there. But that's where I live, right by there. So.
Is there anything you can put salt filling, like if someone's sodium sensitive?
Yeah, if somebody's sodium sensitive, I probably do like celery, any kind of high sodium herb, but in the herb, in the plant, that sodium won't be as harmful as that sodium sensitive thing. Like I think it's granted, like this is going into another side story, but I look at Erin knows my side stories. They should eliminate, yeah, exactly. But they should go through an elimination, but basically celery seed does help people to uptake better amounts of sodium, and there's more potassium in it, because potassium and sodium are really kind of like the dueling minerals. They really need each other. Sodium could be very acidic, and potassium is really alkalizing. So there's this whole celery cleanse, celery juicing, or celery seed. So yeah, celery seed has one of the highest amounts of sodium, like natural sodium, and caraway seed, and the other one is like seaweed would be. Yeah, I might try seaweed. But anything with natural occurring sodium, because sodium, minerals in general, but sodium is the main preserving sort of action with doing all these processes. It's one of the most corrosive. That's why ocean water just eats away rocks. Like sodium is, a big part of it, but it's all about a balance too. Yeah. So if they're okay with seaweed, they might avoid seaweed too. Say celery seed. I don't say anything. Celery juice, but that's a little bit of work, but yeah. So making crispy nuts. And so you can see on my picture here, I forgot my slides, but that's okay. I use a dehydrator at Cabela's, that hunting store. They have the best price on dehydrators. It's just like the Excalibur for a fraction of the price. It's like, I think I got mine for $160, or Excaliburs for $400. But it's the bonus with those, higher end dehydrators is you can totally manage the heat setting, where you get those cheap ones from, you know, those round ones, the trays. You don't even know what you're getting. You're probably getting a super, you know, right, well, 200 or so. But especially if you want to do like raw, like if you want to maintain your enzymes, but we all know that doesn't really matter. It's all about your microbiome and your, like, the orchestra of, you know, your digestion. But some people really want it raw, and they want to keep those enzymes intact and keep all their nutrients that they work so hard to soak and prepare. And so you'd actually want to be at lower than 117 degrees Fahrenheit is what they say. I've even heard 115. So to be safe, I mean, Google it, because I Google it like I have, and you see one that says 115 and one that says 117. So there you go. So so just, I mean, whatever, do what you want. But I really, like I said before, it's all about how your actual digestion is functioning, not the enzymes you're getting from your food necessarily, right? So we're getting that diversity, the alkalinity, getting our microbiome on, which that's what we're doing, right? We're taking care of all levels of digestion through our microbes that outnumber us, the ones that are in charge, right? So yeah, so dehydrator is great. And then the next one is the cultured Caesar salad dressing. So I talked about that already. And that was like my happy accident, because I just had lots of hemp seeds, and I'm like, oh, they're funky like Caesar. And so when you do ferment it, it was a little too funky. So that was like, oh gosh, like, you know, terrible accident sort of thing. There's a Caesar thing going on. So I just added a whole bunch of lemon juice after, which that's how the recipe goes. So you add all those ingredients with the garlic and everything. It still has this like dark funk going on, because those hemp seeds are so weird. And yeah, so the fermentation, 6 to 12 hours again, depending on heat. It's puffy and it's separate. That's totally normal. Just mix it all up again. And then add lemon juice until it tastes like Caesar. You like that recipe? So approximately, sorry. So add taste. Come on, be a real chef. Chefs taste their food. But 1 to 2 tablespoons of lemon. So I found it, I don't know, it depends on maybe how strong my garlic is, or what type of ferment starter I use. Like sometimes I use like a pickle brine that has a lot of flavor, so that shifts the flavor, right? And so, I mean, the lemon will help also it to be preservative, because I do find, especially with this dressing, you should eat it within a week, because it gets, that fun comes back sort of thing. So the more lemon, the better. Probably like add a little extra lemon and then just eat it right away.
So what if you didn't soak?
Yeah, you don't have to soak them.
Would they be a little less funky?
They'd probably be more funky. Well, if you soak for too long, yeah, they get sour and funky. Yeah, but I've done both, and they're just as funky. Like sometimes I don't soak my hemp seeds. Hemp seeds are really low on the scale. Sometimes I don't even soak my cashews, but they're not as soft and moist to work with in the blender. So then I have to play with my recipe and add water, and so you're kind of playing. So this recipe is easier, because I know when it's soft, it's soaked and strained, it works and blends really well. Yeah, with hemp seeds, they're so small, I didn't find the water was an issue with not soaking them, sort of thing. Like, they don't get so much softer after soaking them. And again, it's such a small seed, so a 6-hour soak is all you need, just like cashews. Even with sunflower seeds, I usually do only a 6-hour soak. I've never tried sunflower seed dressing. That's something. I've sprouted sunflower seeds though, and they've gotten weird on me. You gotta watch those, just because I don't know. It's smaller seeds. They're just harder to work with, right? Just more exposure to oxidation. They got really brown and tasted really funky. I like that word today, apparently. Yeah, when you're souring things, it's a funky. Things get funky. So. Yeah, so there's a little bit of information there, same that's on that slide. So why we soak our nuts and seeds. I think it's a spelling error. It's phytic, not oidic. Yeah, good tail on there. All right, so now we're skipping to the last page. So we already talked about cashew cheese, pretty much. And now sour flour muffins, which I don't have a sample, but I have a better sample, so don't you worry. So this is what you do. I have pictures, a slideshow about my muffins, and then I'll tell you about what I actually did sour. I made some cookies, I think I told most of you guys anyways. So I soured flour for cookies, which some of you missed this, but it's in this book, which is downloaded on our private group page. So it's in the files section on the top right. So if you need any help, just call me or email me. I'll send you a copy or whatever, because I know some people don't like Facebook. And so is your flour wet? Because this pre-1900s is the only way that they would make baked goods. And it's obsolete now in all of the cookbooks and most of the bakeries, except for Breadland, I think. So let's not talk about cookies, never mind. But yeah, so this is like the real deal. This is what our great-great-grandparents used to do, right? So one of the recipes in here is a tried and true one that like I've it's not my recipe, but it's the recipe I've made, and they're cookies. That's what I was saying earlier. You can't just go and get a cookie recipe and soak the flour and think it's gonna turn out. It never does. Like I've had so many problems with cookies. So this cookie recipe is amazing. So it's in this book, it's not on your notes, but the sour flour muffins, however, it's from Nourishing Traditions, but it's my own take. I found hers a bit dry, which when you soak flour, you would think it wouldn't be dry. But this is like a fail-safe recipe. I just want to say to you, like I have, like as you go after you soak and you add all these ingredients, sometimes I've been out of coconut shreds, so I add extra chia. So I just keep kind of the ratios, you know. I'm out of blueberries, so chocolate chips or raisins. I've been out of all of those, and I've added coconut, half a cup, plus like the other quarter cup of coconut. It's just a bit more coconutty. And it just always really works out. So as long as you follow the first top guidelines, so a cup of ground flour, 3/4 cup of rolled oats, and it doesn't really matter. Sometimes I grind them. Sometimes they're the groats. The flour, you don't have, sometimes I've done all oat groats, but then they're like kind of groaty, like little, they're like really seedy looking, you know, sort of thing. So rolled oats, all rolled oats, you can do like a, oh sorry, what type, okay, yeah. So yeah, I've done lots of things, like I was saying, but that's not your question. This brand, they're at the market, the Gold Forest Farms, they have so many different flours. So like I've used spelt, this one has spelt, sorry, my cookies that I'm using, and most of the time I use spelt, but you can use any flour, and that's the thing, you're gonna sour them. So it's kind of like a semi-sourdough. So you're gonna break down some of the gluten. I mean, I haven't lab tested it, so I don't know if all of the gluten breaks down, but that's the whole theory, right? Because the gluten is an anti-nutrient. And so when you do the souring, especially if you let it sour or soak, basically, it's a sour soak for 24 hours, the consistency is so sticky and strange, like it's fermented, right? It's really broken down. So, I mean, don't go over 24 hours. There's a tip for these. And even if you have like fussy kids, or you're fussy a little bit about funky tastes or like sour, start with 12-hour soak, even a 6-hour soak. But I mean, you know, once you get into the 12-hour soak, you're going to get rid of more of the anti-nutrients, right? Like 24 hours, yeah, you're going to get rid of a ton of them, but you're also going to get that really sour taste and the consistency. They get like the baking. Once they're baked, they have a bit more of a moist after effect. And I say cook them in mini muffin tins because they can be so moist in the middle because of the soaking process. So the longer you let it soak, yeah, the stickier, the gooier, the more moist they are, but the more sour tasting they are. So it's like a sourdough muffin. Yeah, and so.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I've used like the gluten-free flours too, like the Cloud9 blend has worked really well with this recipe as well.
And you soaked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? Because I mean, all those starches and those gluten-free flours.
That's like rice, potato, I think there's quinoa flour in it, and then some chia and stuff like that. So like, and in terms of
just any flour.
Any flour,
Yeah.
They're pretty fail-safe muffins. Yeah. So, and I think even like in gluten-free flours, the starches, right? That's hard on your body. So they'll ferment it a bit, sour it a bit, so it'll break down those starches for you. So. Yeah. So
they turn
want
out
to clean it up.
Clean
Clean it up. Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
I had no idea. It's my very first time.
and you're so happy that it's a fail-safe recipe.
Yeah.
So there you go. Don't be afraid of these recipes. This one specifically. And then the cookie one is awesome too, which you're going to taste, and it's in that book that you can download in group. So yes, so this is what it kind of looks like. Obviously, you have your flour in your pot, and then you have a choice of anything sour, basically. So you could use apple cider vinegar, but that's getting funky, right? So lemon is usually the best choice. I usually use lemon, or you can do water kefir if you have one of those, or milk kefir. You can buy it, you can make your own. Yogurt is obviously another one. And then you just want to get everything wet. So this ratio, 1 cup to like a cup and 3/4 of the dry flour. it doesn't look really, it gets all like you kind of have to mix it in and it looks like clumpy, and that's okay as long as you don't have any dry flour laying around. So you let that soak overnight, or 6 to 24 hours, 6 minimum. And then you add all your stuff. And so by the time, this is what it looks like after you've added your mashed bananas. I've not added bananas, but it's kind of dry without bananas. So if you're going to replace bananas, think of something, mushy like that. Applesauce, apples smushed up, blueberries, something, fruit and moist, more moist. Yeah, so that's a fit, like it's fail safe to a point. But you kind of have, if you're replacing things, think about the moisture level, basically all I would recommend. And then I always add my baking soda last, but that's a pretty basic baking tip. The other thing too, I do add a lot of, I don't know if you can see that, but zucchini I add. So zucchini would replace bananas. There you go. And then I use mini muffin tins for those because they're so moist because of the soaked flour thing that the big muffins, big muffin tins, you might have to cook for a little bit longer than 20 minutes. Actually, 30 minutes is what, I haven't done them in big ones for a while, but I had, one of my liver cleanse group experimenting, and they said, I used a big muffin tin and it didn't cook enough. So I used 30 minutes, seemed to be what worked for her. So a little bit longer, and then I get a little bit more brown around the edges. So yeah, so just mini muffin tins I find is the best way. And they just look amazing. Look at them. Yay. So then they're just so tasty. And they freeze really well, thaw later.
Do you have to prep the muffin tins?
I do. So you rub it with coconut oil. So it says, yeah, so mini muffin tins with coconut oil. That's okay. And then whatever you have left, put on your skin. Coconut oil is good for so many things. Do some oil pulling, right?
You soak your flour overnight. Is that on the counter or in the fridge?
Yes, so on the counter. So fermentation is all about, so souring in the warm environment. Thank you. It's not on there, yeah. I think these things are obvious sometimes, right? Yeah, so no, yeah, on the counter because you're letting it sour. So souring and fermenting is all about the warmer temperatures, room temperature, 20, 21 degrees sort of thing. And then there's this beautiful side panel. I just have to read out loud because I love this. So, I mean, yeah, the benefits of rinsing, soaking, sprouting, and souring grains are plenty. Sourdough is a traditional way of making bread rise. During the slow souring process, the grain becomes pre-digested, breaking down most of the gluten in spelt and wheat flours. Soaking, souring, or sprouting grains will also break down the phytic acid, which binds with minerals and has shown to contribute to bone loss and osteoporosis. The well-meaning advice, this is all from Nourishing Traditions, by the way. The well-meaning advice of nutritionists and dietitians to consume more whole grains as our ancestors did and not refined flours and polished rice is misleading and often harmful in its consequences. For while our ancestors ate whole grains, they did not consume them in the form of quick-rise breads, granola, and other hastily prepared cereals and casseroles. Virtually all the recipes found pre-1800s showed soaked or fermented grains before making them into casseroles, breads, cakes, cookies, or porridge. Very cool, right? Hi. No matter, it just died? It's done? Okay, bye, Facebook Live. Hi, guys, you're gonna come see. Oh, okay, her phone. That's my phone.
Yeah, her phone.
Okay, yeah, well, we're basically done. Actually, that's perfect. I mean, I don't even know what time it is, but okay, so we're still on YouTube. Hi, YouTube. But I want to pause, yeah, so abruptly. I want to do the alkaline test. I mean, if there's any questions, we could totally go into any questions about sour flour muffins. Pretty straightforward, hey? Is this mind-blowing? You've already heard this before. Yeah, it's good though, isn't it? Yeah. So new information. It's amazing. Like all our ancestors did all this, and the paleo movement needs to sort of catch up, you know? That'd be nice. And then the fermenting. Like, do you see a lot of paleo books with fermented recipes?
No.
Right?
Or they'll have like a quick sauerkraut.
Okay, yeah.
But generally, no.
But it's not like the main, like they should pair what ferment goes with what meals consistently. Like, yeah, totally, yeah. Like every recipe should have a ferment pair, like, or like the condiments that, you know, that everybody would have ate. Just, well, yeah, exactly. Kimchi specifically on everything. Yeah. And kombucha shots to start. Yeah, totally. Yeah, so it's not quite 2 hours. That's okay. We're perfect timing. So what we're going to do with the pH test this time is use apple cider vinegar instead of lemon. I know, gross. I'm torturing you. But we dilute it with water, so it's not going to be too bad. Even the lemon was there. Okay, so I'm just going to get all these ready first. So get all your pH strips. Nice jugs. Yeah. Actually, that's not even yours. Yours are so big. They're beautiful. They're really big and much bigger than the 4-liter ones. See what I do? I cover up my sprouts in a beautiful doily. So we're just going to do a little quicker version of the alkaline test. So just 3 strips this time, so it's not as crazy. It was just getting the idea to see if, like, I think you guys all tested accurately. But we'll see if there's any shifts. You guys all take your Juice Plus for a week, a whole week. Eating more veggies, so maybe something shifted. Does anybody do lemon water every morning? Is that a thing?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so that could, you know, make a difference. Maybe bump it up with a little bit of apple cider vinegar. I know it's gross. Your phone, but yeah, that was perfect timing. I was doing the ending.
Yeah.
With the nourishing traditions, sort of ending. My endings are always abrupt. And we're done. And we're done. Okay, any questions? And then we'll do this test, and then we can eat all the goodies that we talked about.
Oh, do you think if we soaked some grains like oats, could we like then dry them to make the granola?
Yes.
Yes, there's a recipe right here.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
In here.
Yep. So this book is amazing. Get your flour wet. It's all based on this. So Nourishing Tradition is based on the Weston A. Price Foundation. So if you go to Weston A. Price, Weston A is his middle name, A or something, price.org. There's a huge website, so much information. And all these people are chapter leaders, they call it, from all over the world. And so they host like Weston A. Price Foundation approved food potlucks. So everybody's soaking and souring and fermenting and doing all this stuff, all based on, that book is a recipe book based on Weston A. Price's findings and his recipes he's down from different cultures that had perfect teeth, no disease, and they live past 100.
And dentists do not lose them at all.
I know. He was a dentist.
So they use spears in the office and in right? Like saying this stuff. The dentist is just like, I know.
Yeah, you never heard of like the mind-altering dentist that studied sorry, so the granola recipe is right beside the cookie recipe. There's a giant breakfast cookie recipe. Baked oatmeal, is that what you're talking about, granola? Yeah, I think there's another one too that actually says granola. There's like index.
Since it's just so rolled oats.
Yeah, you can. I mean, I don't think there's not a huge difference depending on how they process the oats. They just roll them. Yeah, there's a pizza crust one in there. I've done that one. That's really nice. Download that. There's an English muffin one. I don't know if it's in there or if I found it on the blog. But you should look English muffins, nourishing. Incredible recipe. Yeah. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're just gonna do a napkin and we're gonna fork on the things here. Gob on them.
It's just 3.
Yeah, we're just gonna do 3 this time. Sure, you want to hand them out?
It was 6.
Yeah, so we're just gonna do a short version just to see if we bump her back. So I wanted to do a little different too. So we're just gonna do a straight up saliva test now. We had an empty stomach for about an hour and a half. And so we're gonna do one saliva test, and then we're gonna do the swish swish with apple cider vinegar. Wait 2 minutes, do another test, and then wait 2 more minutes and do the third test. And we're done. Then we eat.
And when we're swishing with the vinegar, that takes 3
minutes, right? I should look back at my notes. Okay. Yeah.
And then we eventually swallow it.
Yeah, and then you swallow it. I know. It's gonna be really diluted. Really diluted apple cider vinegar. Yeah, you really don't like apple cider vinegar anymore.
I like it, just not as like.
Yeah, not as
You want to just like
They're so
roast
weird.
it?
Why? It's
totally
totally
not
like
like eater, right? Sorry, I love it.
So we have to build it up. So
Yeah, they're all.
yeah, doing Shane John. They're just not. It's way.
Oh,
Yeah. Saves on a grocery bill. Sorry. Yeah.
So some apple cider vinegar is so much stronger than lemon. Half an ounce. We're gonna eyeball it. I'm good at eyeballing. I'm not a chef. Might as well
But she'd make a wicked bath there back.
Uh-huh.
I'm the world's worst. I'm the one that gets you drunk.
Okay, so I'll fill up the water. Propane water and apple cider vinegar. Get it? Yeah. We can do it in little bits, like, you know, a bit, swish, 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 and then we swallow, and then another bit, swish, 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 swish. Just because we're just basically we're just getting all this area acidic, including down to our liver and our stomach. Right? So that's why we're swallowing.
3 minutes and then swallow.
Well, you don't have to swish for 3 minutes total. Like swish for like 30 seconds. Swallow, another 30 seconds. And I mean, this isn't, it doesn't have to be exact because we just need to get our mouth acidic. So for a good 3 minute period, we need to be constantly adding acid. That's kind of the main idea. You get that one. Yeah, we're gonna get brave, guys. Plus. Yeah. So everybody do their first test actually before the water comes. So do your first test now. Yeah. So we're gonna do a test without the apple cider vinegar.
Baseline.
Baseline.
Are you gonna try this?
No, so just this is just baseline.
Just spit.
So spit.
Just get some spit on us.
Spit before the acid. So this should be quite helpful. So this is what you're looking for in the end, not the beginning. So this should be alkaline. Good, good. So that's good. So now you guys now have a test that actually is good. That's appropriate. And then we're going to be acid. Pretty green. Yeah, so that's good. You're supposed, it's supposed to be pretty green.
Green is nice.
No, green is alkaline.
Oh.
Like
Acid. So we're in the acid corner.
okay, so that means yeah.
You're having a way different party over there.
I get it. Are we supposed to have
Right.
nope, so my some might come together. You ready?
Mine like matches my napkin. How funny is that? Like,
So I'm about 7. I'm perfect. Sorry. I mean, just alcohol. Okay, so ready? So yeah, just a little bit of swishing. So about 3 minutes we'll swish. Oh, 30 seconds. 30 seconds ish, yeah. And then swallow and then do another one.
nice face.
Mm.
That's good thing we stopped recording.
Oh my gosh, I swallowed. Yeah, this is sorry guys. I didn't want to bring a whole bunch of lemons here. This is why we're doing it. But it's more acidic. This is way more acidic than lemon.
It's a nice tasting apple cider vinegar. It tastes really strong.
Whew. Okay, and swallow and then do it again. I know, I'm sorry guys. Oh boy.
It's like a shot that doesn't go down. So I know you.
I would try to avoid your teeth. Just get in your cheeks and your tongue. Because it's hard on the teeth.
I'm the only one that likes it.
Yeah, we like it. Good. This is so good for us, especially us low acid people. So I'm just going from cheek to cheek. We gotta wait for spitting because I'm gonna time. We're gonna just keep doing this, and as soon as we're done our cups, and then we'll time 2 minutes, and then test.
You're doing the whole cup.
It's really healthy. We're all joking. We don't have to do the whole cup. It's just really good to just acid. Just get the acid in your mouth. Just take the acid, guys.
That's the purpose.
Just think how good it's for your stomach acid.
What is the pH of your urinal?
Yes, it's quite acidic. Oh, it should be on the next page, which is on the group in the files section. So I talked about there's more content to the first class in the files section. It's up there. It's more information. So go and download all those files. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's on the last page. Mm-hmm. So on the last page, they have the urine test, and they talk about the urine more. To download that sheet. I have it here. I can look it up. You guys see my laptop? Yeah. Okay.
It all depends on the time of day and what you're eliminating.
Mm-hmm.
Your body's always eliminating whatever it's trying to balance.
That's why I do a fasting test. Yeah.
The state that you should be in. Or should it be?
Your urine. Well, you want to get the acid out of the body, so it should be acidic. Your urine should be.
Yeah.
It changes from, there's a 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock thing. Can't remember which one's which, but 10 o'clock your
6.5.
body naturally follows a rhythm. It's either acidic or alkaline. And at 4 p.m. Same as AM and PM times in the body.
Okay.
What if your stomach is burning?
Yeah.
Your stomach's burning. Is it uncomfortable, like heartburn?
So
Okay.
when you do a shot of tequila and then it's like burning all the way down.
So is it like coming up burning, or is it just like a warm? Does it feel like heartburn? Okay, so it means you have high stomach acid. No. So, but a high, as in high abnormal though, right? Because it should feel actually really good. It kind of like a warm burn, not like a too hot of a burn. If you had a balanced pH and digestive system.
It should be like
A warm, yeah, like you're ready to eat. Your digestive, because this is like an excellent kind of enzyme prep for eating food. Taking a shot of kombucha or right before their meals. Yeah, this is like a natural enzyme supplement, hydrochloric acid supplement.
When do we start our?
Okay, we wait 2 minutes now.
We're just swishing for 2 minutes?
No, we're gonna sit here and wait 2 minutes. Okay, timer and timer to start. Okay, so you're done swishing. Relax. That was painful. Don't drink any water though. Yeah, don't drink any water. Stay acid in your mouth. And we're gonna wait 2 minutes. Anybody else feel burning?
Feel not good.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Like you feel like what, nauseous or something?
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I got goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my body's saying.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, I'm glad you stopped. If you're nauseous, that could be liver gallbladder stuff, which that's the article you're gonna read. And that's what I remember I theorized what's probably happening. I found an article that stated that yes, that's true, sort of thing. There's a few articles, but this one like really worded it nicely. So that's the science, is that your stomach acid is too alkaline, where it should be super acidic, like 1.6, I think it is, or 2.6. And bile is really alkalizing. So if bile like dumps into your stomach acid, then it alkalizes it, dilutes it completely, right? So you don't have any stomach acid to break meat down especially. And if you're nauseous, that's usually what happens when you're nauseous, is that bile is like leaking out into your stomach. That's what causes nausea. So if people are nauseous, it's like there's a gallbladder, liver, you know, they're too full. Basically, the liver is probably full of toxins, and it's trying to dump and, you know, give the the gallbladder's trying to take care of it, but it's just like seeping out everywhere. So what is my timer going? 18 seconds, and we can spit. Now I'm about 7, so I'm not quite 7.5. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, go. So it should be acid. It should be like a mustard yellow. Yeah?
More alkaline.
Then you have low stomach acid and a CP gallbladder probably. And I'll give you that article. I'll tag everybody here to that article. Yeah, CP gallbladder people.
Mine's so
Here.
spotty.
Oh, maybe it needed a better gob.
It should be.
One different. Here, get another strip.
At this point, it should be acidic.
It should be really acidic. Like mine is a 6.5 right now. Mine's about like a mustard. Like it shouldn't change too much.
Pretty like green.
Okay, yeah, too green. That's your body is not.
Oh wow.
There's no acid to give.
Yeah.
So what's yours? Really green.
Yeah.
Like everybody should have felt better because you have low stomach acid, so you should feel better when you drink apple cider vinegar. Okay, next one. This should get greener. I mean, well, you guys will probably get less green.
More lime green.
Yeah, so mine's a little greener. Less green?
Mine at least instantly.
So if we kept going, it should get greener and greener. I mean, okay, that's the ultimate test. So I'll just show you.
More acid, less acid.
It should get more alkaline. So the best way to test, so you should have pretty alkaline saliva, 7.5. So mine, it's getting, see, that's the thing with these pH strips, they don't last. It was a bit greener. It matched I was actually about 7. I should be 7.5. So I don't really have enough minerals quite right now. I need to be working on my minerals too, right? And so I should be 7.5. So that's your base. Like that's your base of your saliva. And then once you do the test, it should go like really acidic, like mustard yellow, which mine was. And then after the next minute, it should get more green, which mine is getting a little bit more green. It's going to like a 6 now. Does that make sense? So that's the way our balance should go. Okay, so you have low stomach acid, your body is acidic. That's what everybody did last time, right? So you guys have low stomach acid. You don't have the right pH in the right places in your body, which usually like it dictates like just overall blood pH imbalance. So just not enough leafy green vegetables, and somehow your stomach acid got burnt out. Probably the liver gallbladder is overloaded again, right? Like the bile's leaking in, and there's too many toxins, so the bile's like, leaking out. And what was yours?
This is my first one.
Oh, yeah, so acid. And that's the second one?
Yeah.
And then we're alkaline. Yeah, so you guys are opposite.
Where's this third one?
So the third one, you're kind of like, you're getting like
You're not
so
the charts.
alkaline.
And what 7.5 is your ideal?
That's perfect, yeah.
Alrighty. So I have low
So
stomach
low
acid.
stomach acid, yeah, and probably liver gallbladder
Okay.
toxicity.
So,
So more bitter herbs, more,
I picked a piece of the dandelion out.
yes,
Patio.
lots of dandelion greens.
There's a lot at my house.
So green smoothies with tons of dandelion greens, that'd be the most inexpensive thing to do. And like the whole stem and the head and everything I would throw in. Yeah, the flowers, at the head, the flower head. And here's the place ready while we're talking. Snacks. So you guys want to see those cookies? The giant breakfast cookies, they look so cool. And they're so flour. Like you guys should have seen my experiments over the years of trying to switch over cookies. They're like flat, ran all over, everything clumped together. So these are like
Then you
amazing.
break it up and you put it back in and make
I've done that, yes. But that's a pain in the butt. When you want a cookie, right?
Especially if you want to
Want a cookie now. Your kids are like, oh, cookies, no cookies.
And then they cry.
Yeah. So you guys want sweet first or all together? The garlic and the hummus and the cookie and everything all together? Okay. We'll try to separate it a bit. Cookies, sorry, I will wash my hands. We're not dealing with ferments here.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, and I got, for dipping, more green than chips, right? Yeah, being a good example. Yeah, have some cake on the cookies, and then I'll do the dips or something. Thanks. Pink dips so pretty. Check it out, eh? Dill, garlic, beet, sweet potato, cashew cheese.
They just really invest in some.
Yeah, those chairs aren't very comfortable.
Have you not sat in them?
I'm usually standing. Prices are right here. Brussels sprout. That was $14.17, and then minus the 25%.
Don't want the insects. You go out of the
They eat less.
Oh,
Yeah, so I ate quite a
I
bit.
don't want them to get bigger, but I think I could.
They're firmer. They got firm.
That's good. And I'm not going to eat like the whole bar like she did.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
bought that bar and I had like a little piece every now and then.
Oh,
And the bar is actually concentrated sprouts. So it was really good.
Oh, really?
It's really good. It's like creamy chocolate.
Oh, this is really garlicky.
Are there more broccoli seeds on it?
I think that's the last one. Yeah, they might work. There's a mixture though. I think broccoli's in that.
In this sprouting? No.
Oh, really? Bring those chocolate bars together. Just eat a little bit at a time.
It needs to be fully stocked every Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
Have everything on Thursdays.
Yeah.
I know.
Should just let people choose their own dipping things, come up and get their own plate.
Sure. Hey guys, you can choose how many vegetables or chips you want. Erin's idea. Good idea.
Well, just, I don't,
Yeah. Yeah, we got our digestive system charged right up.
Yeah.
Fire's burning.
I don't know if you guys want a spoon. Yeah, if you want a spoon or a napkin,
Step right up.
step right up.
Help yourselves. Don't stand on ceremony here.
Grab whatever. I won't judge if you grab only chips. No, I know. The corn is not properly fermented. Actually, if you read in Nourishing Traditions, the way that the sort of Mexican diet is very much based on corn, they would ferment. They process them specifically at lime.
Oh, yeah.
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 So do you have a recipe for that? It's in Nourishing Traditions. Really? Yeah. But it's not the lime like a lemon or a lime. It's kind of more like a lime that you use with like alkali or lime alkali it's called, I think. With soap, the soap making process. Lye. It's like lye. It's what lye. It's like more a natural. Okay, I have to look it up now. Corn. Yeah, it's really hard to find.
What flour did you use for the cookie?
Okay, so spelt from the Gold Forest.
I'm a little bit
Grains.
concerned
Yeah, no worries.
for the gluten content.
Yeah, so yeah, you might. Yeah, so I mean, spelt was from them, so there's gluten in the spelt, right?
Right.
Yeah, and it was only soured. It was soured for 12 hours with. Yeah, by the way, guys, I didn't use buttermilk. So when you guys download that book, if you'll remember this, it asks for buttermilk to sour the grains and the cookies. I use kefir yogurt instead, and anything would work. Any sour medium. And so this would be even more powerful than buttermilk because it has so many more probiotics to offer, sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Although it depends. The buttermilk is from raw milk.
Elaine, just the pink one has cashews in it, right?
Yes, just the pink one has cashews. Do you want another plate?
No, it's fine.
I'll eat your cookie, Randy. Because it might not be 100%. It's a 12-hour, so
I'm not sure. I'm a little bit, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, let me
I'll
know.
send it to Alan.
Okay, perfect. Okay, sorry, corn. 382. So I kind of take up the whole place, eh? Oh my gosh, there's so much information in this book.
Cashew cheese is so good.
Is that nice? Yeah. I mean, cashew cheese is crazy good already.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Nice addition. I got really excited. I'm like, I'm making everything prebiotic.
What do you use your cashew cheese for?
Cornbread, everything, but dip with like, I try to like chips and dip. So I do this, I slice cucumbers or zucchini slices or daikon radish slices are really nice to dip with, and celery. And then I put water in it and shake it in a shaker cup for my dressing. And if I use too much water, I put the chia seed, like I said, too, in the dressing, so it makes it thicker and it clumps on top of the lettuce instead of running all the way down. So yeah, it's very versatile for like bases. Okay, normally or right now?
Right now.
Oh, well, you'd want to put more garlic then, probably. You like a lot of garlic.
Or just or the corn cheese.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Richard. Here we go. Just wants to contact me. It's on the website. Oh, everything's been recorded already. This is the second class, so it's 2 class recordings. Sweet, yeah, she's great. Thanks. So cornbread. How to make cornbread, and that kind of talked about how they broke it down. I think they talked about it in here somewhere. So under corn tortillas, it doesn't. The recipe index. It's corn under recipes. The other thing too with the cashew cheese, it's not fermented very long, by the way. It's only a 6-hour ferment, and it didn't get puffy or bubbly. So the longer you let it ferment, it can have a goat cheese sort of flavor. So it gets really sour tasting. So that might be what you'd want if you found that the flavor's not strong enough. You like it? Yeah, she doesn't. She wants it stronger.
Oh, no, I didn't say it needed. I just didn't
Have much of a flavor. Yeah. You've never had it before. Okay, so if you get the one from. Okay, yeah. Because you know Truffala Delights, I think it's called, or Deli. She sells a cashew cheese in a little container. It's like $20, but she ferments it for such a long time. It tastes like goat cheese. So yeah, it's just a longer fermentation process. I love that. This is good. Yeah. Then she does like a thing where she mixes it with macadamia nuts and makes these like cheese rounds that you can slice.
Oh, who are you talking about?
So Truffala is the name of a company. She's a local company. She used to be a chef at Nourish. So I just know her. Allison. She was here, but when she walked in, and I'm like, "Hi, Allison."
Oh, yeah.
And I think she does the cheese. And she has a market too here. She's here right now. Yeah, Thursday.
It's Thursday again.
Yeah, it's Thursday. Yeah. Till 8. Oh, we have time. Yeah, it's $20, but it's she's really good at keeping things consistent, and it just tastes nice goat cheese taste. Yeah. And she has her recipe on, and she actually did a workshop at Nourish too. It was like $60 to teach you her secret ingredients. Yeah, I know. I was tempted to go to like learn her secrets. I know, me too. I'm still trying to look up this corn thing. Which one? The cookies, hey? They're so easy. So they get really thick too, by the way. You'll get the recipe, but you'll know. Just like that picture you saw, the muffins are the same thing. They're like a really thick dough. You think you're doing it wrong? No, it's just thick. And then as soon as you add the other stuff, you kind of have to work it so you get a good workout. But that's normal.
Do you think this
workout.
one
The cookie or the dough? I don't know, probably. I don't know. I'm freezing some dough right now, so I'll try it. I'll let you guys know. She asked if they freeze well. I actually made because that recipe is like 4 cups of flour altogether, like 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of oatmeal. And I had so much left over that I froze the dough. So I'll let you guys know if the dough cooks after it's frozen, right? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
It doesn't have to rise.
Yeah, they don't really rise. Yeah, they just form. Yeah. They kind of like settle and form. It was kind of this, I just threw them down like clumps on the, I can't find the corn information. This book, it's huge. I had this book sitting on my shelf for 10 years before I actually opened it. And then I was hooked. And now look at what I do. I do everything about this book now. This is my life. Like for 10 years, it was like sitting there waiting for me. Yeah. It's so intimidating, right? Because if you look, every recipe has a side panel with like 2 different like ancient cultures and what they did and like scientific research, and it's just like from different books. So like lots of information, like Dr. Wesley A. Price's book. There. Yeah. And the hummus, it didn't blend too much. You could just add more water and blend it. I got lazy. Oh, I didn't give you guys nuts. So the crispy nuts, it's just pecans, but you know, I better with the raw nuts. Okay, good. Fine. I just found it in the garage. So they're cooking the oven. Get your fatty acids on.
My dehydrator committed suicide.
So I just found it.
Yeah, so a longer period of time. Like these ones probably took an hour and a half. And I actually let them. I turn off the oven and let them sit there. So you don't have any But by the time 2 hours or an hour and a half, I tasted it. They're pretty crispy. No, I didn't. I don't have any sheets that are like really nice. Yeah, it's around it. Sorry, guys. No,
I heat it up. Either do it
I don't know if I can do that. Like is it
Or if I don't have that, then sometimes I'll use my I find this for I think I did sort of like maybe in 20 minutes and then check them.
I could add the nuts to the cookies so I can do that. That'd be a good idea. I think that was everything.
I think it was like
There's broccoli sprouts too.
I think it was like an hour to an hour and a half that I was kind of like
I just washed my hands.
cooking and checking them. But I kept trying to keep it a little low temperature because I didn't want them to burn. Yeah, about that. Yeah, because I got them and then I went to Montreal and I was gone and I got everything.
No, they're not spicy. They're not spicy. I just washed my hands.
And I actually, one of my favorite things is to have like, when I ate bagels, I would have a bagel and then I'd put cream cheese or you could use like a cashew cheese. And then the sprouts. And nom nom. And we made like at home pizzas, put sprouts on it, like salad, really sprouts on anything, just delicious.
Oh, vinegar, yes.
Love it this stuff.
I think that's about it. Look at our time. It's 7:30 right on the dot, so we're actually on time today. Thanks for coming early.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
So these
I don't
little,
think it's big.
these little berry type fibers, that's the sprout?
That's the sprouted lentil. That will.
Right from the get-go.
So I cooked them.
So that's like the little hairs coming off.
Yeah,
I used to get Lydia ate
Oh,
pizza.
okay.
Not like I recorded, not my hairy.
No, because it's all correct.
Yeah. No, that would be impossible.
But
But
as she
yeah,
gets
because
older,
they do have lots of little hairs. Yeah. Interesting.
Or maybe
Yeah.
the parsley too. Oh yeah, because parsley's pretty stringy, isn't it?
Pretty parsley.
Maybe
Yeah,
it's
I'm
stringy.
swinging it down, so I just
Oh,
step
okay.
there and everything. So there we go. Yeah, so everything's 25% off, guys, that I mentioned. So if you guys want, Kelsey can help you.
You did mention scissors, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah, it's in the cookies. Oh, I doubled the cinnamon. Always double cinnamon in your cookies. There, now you go. Last time you were
Oh, they never.
Yeah.
They're whippy.
I
I
do.
use that with a lot of food. Like, why don't you do the popcorn? Wait, Matthew's brother cinnamon.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hi, thank you.
And nobody came, and then, yeah, Sharon and
Okay,
Tyler
I'm gonna
came in.
stop. How do I
to
do this?
some
Stop
shopping.
share.
We're like, hey!